Welcome to another episode of the One of One podcast. My name is Sophia Aguilar and I'm your host. As you know, every single time we record an episode for the One of One podcast, my goal is always to bring you a different perspective, a different insight. And as we've tapped into, yes, personal, yes, our faith, yes, our finances and business, now we're shifting gears into a different industry that I've actually never interviewed anyone in. And actually, I don't really know much about it, but I've been super blessed and super grateful to get to know this individual through one of my bestest friends. And I just think I'm really excited for this conversation because from what I've been able to see, witness, and hear, it's all about being one of one. What makes you different in the industry that you're in, and thoughts, behaviors, situations that these individuals have to basically be in order to have the career that they have at the end of the day. So I want to introduce to you Jamal Peters. Welcome to the One of One podcast. Jamal is a man of God and professional athlete. He recently signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, making him the highest paid defensive back in the CFL. He played college football at Mississippi State and is also dating my best friend, which I think is pretty cool. Welcome, Jamal.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So welcome to Hamilton. I know this isn't your first time in Ontario. You were playing for the Toronto Argonauts last season. And I'm really grateful that you're here because you are the second male on the One on One podcast and you're in a completely different industry that I know absolutely nothing about. So I'm really excited for this conversation. I may not ask you football specific questions because I don't think I'll watch a football game. I mean, we'll go to the football game. I just don't know how much watching I'll be doing or understanding. But anyways, I want to know a little bit more about you. I feel like I get to know you from the lens of my best friend, which is amazing. And I'm just so grateful that you've been able to make her super, super happy. But I want to talk about you being one of one as an athlete. And I also kind of dove into one of your posts, and you are a man of God. And I don't know if I see this often, but I don't ever see athletes, entertainers, artists talk about their faith, talk about their relationship with God. And I just love how bold and honest you've kind of been able to share how much your faith and God is so important in your life. So I guess why don't you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, how have you been able to, I don't want to say intertwine because I think they're not intertwined, but how have you been able to position your faith at the forefront of your athletic career as a football player?
Oh, well, for me, like my giving my life to Christ was never been the easy route. You know, it been a long journey, you know, but meeting Felicia, you know, my girlfriend, she literally the main reason that I had to make that next step. I mean, if I want things in life, I have to give God all his time. And that's just based on my journey where I've been at in life. Especially, I needed God mostly. Like, basically in 2018, I had a bad injury, and only person I could rely on was God. And so I always believed in him, but it's like I just had to, you know what I'm saying, tap in more and to give him more his time. But like I said, meeting my girlfriend was the best thing ever happened to me, you know, because she basically helped me with everything. So I'm still learning, still got a lot to do, but I mean, I'm ready for it, though.
I love that. So football specific, I don't know how this game works, but you're a defense back, and you're the highest paid CFL player. I won't ask you to disclose your income because that's rude. But I'm just trying to find out. No, I'm kidding. But that makes you one of one. Let's be real. In any industry, there's a standard of what someone gets paid, right? We know minimum wage. It's there to be like, this is the minimum you're going to get. And if you're on salary, there's a maximum. But what makes Jamal so elite, so one of one that you earned the title? Because it's everywhere. Like, we didn't create this. There was a post on Instagram that I saw. Yeah. I mean, everybody saw it. They were like, oh, period, you know? Yeah. So what makes you one of one earning this title? And I would say it's a title, but also an honor, right? So talk to me a little bit about that.
Mainly it's a blessing. I really work to get to where I'm at. Like, my journey, my testimony is, you know, a blessing. And like I said, I had to grind to get to this point. But mainly I'm going to put all in everything God. God was the reason for all this. I mean, what made me one-on-one is I'm different. Like, I'm different from people. Like, when I'm on that field, my swag, the energy I bring, and like a 99 overall. For example, like you playing a video game, you creating a player, you put all his over like everything 99, and so that's just how I am. Like you can't compare me to nobody. Like I'm different. Like I'm a different type of person, and I just set the tone every time I'm on the field, and then off the field, I'm 1-on-1 too because like my energy, I'm an outgoing person, I'm a man of God, so like I said, there's no comparison.
I love the confidence. And I think that's so important because usually some people don't like to mention that they're one of one because they don't want to toot their own horn. But the reality is, no, you are one of one, and God called you to be in that place, and he gave you all the skills and the talents. Because when we look at your personal capabilities, there's things that you can do in your own human strength, but then there's things like, yeah, you got out of an injury, and usually when people are injured, like that's kind of it, right? So you being able to kind of come out of that, it shows that it could have only been God. But what is a defense back?
Defensive
What
back,
do you do?
So basically, we stop a receiver from catching the ball. Probably one of the hardest positions in football. A lot of people say quarterback. I mean, could be, but defensive back is literally hard. Like, you have to train. You have to make sure your footwork right. And basically trying to stop the opposing receiver, like, from catching the ball. You know, and you know how hard it is. Like, it's very hard, but I like to challenge myself. That's why I play the position. I mean, I earn the right to be the highest paid because I be stopping certain type receivers because we got a lot of good receivers in the league, and it's just it's real hard. But I mean, you just gotta keep working on it, continue to be best. I mean, this just the only part. I got a lot more to accomplish. Like, I'm not gonna get too comfortable with it, but it's a challenge though.
Cool. So what is your, I guess, I look up to athletes. I relate a lot of my work ethic, my business mentality to what an athlete would, because it's long nights, early mornings, training, but also your mentality. What would you say, I guess, like, twofold question. What does your training routine look like, and your discipline in regards to your training, and also your mindset? Like, where's that at, and how does that help you show up? Because on the field is one thing, but also off the field. So your training and then your mindset.
Oh, well, for my training, I don't go out of town to train with people. I like to train on my own, train with like my brother, guys that I know around where I'm from. I like to get it out the mud, out type the trenches. Like, I don't want nobody to give me nothing, so I like to grind on my own. Like, basically what I do, I just run a lot, work out, lift weights and stuff like that, and then I'm at home just resting. Rest is so much important. Then my mentality, my mindset I have, I'm walking by faith. That's the only thing I'm doing, and I just feel like can't nobody compete with what I'm doing. I'm always challenging myself to be better than yesterday. I always be 1% better, because, like, it's hard to work out by yourself, but at the end of the day, I know what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm trying to do in life, what I want in life. So that's mainly how my motivation is. I just got a dog mentality, and I'm keeping God on my side. So how can I lose when I got God on my side?
I love that. What does a dog mentality mean?
Man, basically.
I was like, wait, stop me there. Hold up.
A dog mentality, basically, like, you don't quit. Like,
okay.
You might bend and don't fold. Or you might bend but don't fold. Like, bend, don't break, all that. Like, you might bend but just keep going. How many times you fall, you still gonna get up. Like, I done failed in life so many times, but I just kept going. Because, like, I've been through so much, like, literally so much in life, and I feel like I don't got no bad days. Like, no bad days, nothing bothered me for real, because I got God by my side.
I love that. I think I'm going to ask, like, I don't know if it's like a difficult question, but I'm all about difficult questions. You could talk on other people's media stuff and podcasts all you want, but one thing I'm going to do is, like, because things are always seen so perfect on the outside. Like, for me, I'm like, okay, of course you're coming here from America to come to Canada, and, like, it's going to be easy for you, and you meet your girl, and now, your life just seems so good. Like, everything seems so perfect. But I mean, I know from the outside looking in, things can look one way. And then what are some challenges that you faced in your whole career? I think you mentioned your injury, but also coming here and this being your home basically for the past couple of years. What have been some challenges you faced?
Losing family members. Like, I'm a family oriented guy, and I'm very close to my family. So I lost a lot of family members during my whole process when it come down to football. And I could just state starting from like 2018 with my injury. So once I tore my MCL, PCL, I thought life was over. Wow. Like I had friends, family member that was there for me, but it's like the moment I got hurt and I was down at rock bottom, I lost everybody. Only people I really had was my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and that's my motivation. That's my main three. That's my heart, and that's the reason I wore number 3 in Toronto, because of them. And so as I'm, the process of me turning my MCL, PCL, I had to find God, and it was so frustrating because all I know is football, and I'm very spoiled. Like my mom, my dad give me anything I want, and so like, man, the adversity part was so tough because only thing I had to find a way, and my pride was so big because like I was highly recruited in high school. I mean, had every college in the world that wanted me, and I wasn't humble enough. I finally admit that I wasn't humble to even have that title. And so, long story short, I ended up not getting drafted in the NFL draft. Then I ended up signing a free agent deal with the Indianapolis Colts. Mind you, I haven't had surgery yet. So once I tore it, I didn't have surgery. I had the rehab. So the moment when I was with Indianapolis, probably for like 2 weeks, I was hurting, I was fighting, but like I said, I had that dog mentality, just keep going. So we had one little practice one time, and I ended up falling. So I had to ask myself, either fight this injury and play football for 2 years and boom, I'll be done, or have surgery, but I know it gonna knock you down at the bottom. So I made a decision to do it, and I finally had surgery, but it supposed to went from 4 to 6 weeks and up going to 6 months. So I went 2 years without football. I was lost. I mean, attitudes out the way. Like, I ain't want to talk to nobody. I was shutting myself out. I was just in a dark place. So I found God in 2020, gave my life to Christ. But like, it took me a week, and then boom, I was back to myself, like back to how Jamal used to act. And so 2021, I was offered, to come play football for Toronto. And when they told me I would be gone for 6 months, I'm like, why I'm leaving for 6 months, like that far? And I ain't want to leave because I'm a mama's boy. I don't like to leave my mama. And so it was challenge. It was a challenge thing. Like, I was homesick, but I knew it was a now and never situation for me. So if I don't take full advantage of this, I know like I might not ever get a chance to play football again. Yeah. And once I was able to make that team, and I ain't look back. And I got closer to God, and He really the reason for all this. So I'm just blessed for the most part.
That's so good. And like I said, I've never heard an athlete mention God. And I don't know, you mentioned that you had a little bit of a pride issue and you weren't really humble. And I think that's the biggest part when you get to a certain level in your career or a certain level of success, right? I know I reached that. There was a point in my life when I had hit 6 figures in 8 months in my business, and it was more money than my family had ever seen. And I hit this point of being like, nobody can touch me. I'm unstoppable. Yes, God gave it to me, but it was all about me. And so I love that you kind of identify that humility and that pride to be able to actually realize that you are nothing without God. And my ick when it comes to athletes, I feel like I have to say it. I'm so sorry. It's my podcast. I can talk about it. Is that it almost feels like everybody has this high horse of like, I can do this, I got this. And the reality is you get injured, your career is over. And so one of the things that I talk about is becoming a person of value and a person of influence in your area. And I feel like, I don't know if you know this, but you are building a brand for yourself, because even as you're here, people are not looking at you just as like Jamal, the CFL player who now is signed for the Hamilton Ticats, but they're seeing you as a person of value and a person of influence that, I mean, essentially you're discipling people like without you even knowing. People could stumble upon your page and that may be their first interaction with Jesus. So I feel like that's so cool. And not a lot of people, athletes, celebrities, artists, see that they're a gateway to people giving their life to Christ, to people finding God, and to even just surrendering things. And so there's a post that you made. I'll go to it right now. Pull up the gram. Pull up the receipts. I got the receipts. He said, so the post says, the price is going up. And then it says, gotta stay prayed up. My God got me. And in a industry where it's all about your talent, your ability to physically play, your height, your weight, because there's weight class, and then you stopping these receivers on the field and, stopping the talented people. How do you differentiate your identity as a football player and like who God has created you to be? Like, how do you separate that? Is it one, or like, how do you do it?
Honestly, man, I just try to stay the same. Like, I don't try to do nothing more. Like it ain't even the thing. Like, I just try to put God in everything. Like I said, it's been a long journey to, to get right with God. Cause like I lost a lot of friends the moment I decided to give him the more time. So the identity, I just stay the same. Try not to do too much. Just continue to grow, be better than yesterday, 1%. So that's just my mindset on everything.
I love that. I think combining it as one, I think that's where people get lost, is like you're one person off the field, one person on the field. Right. And I think that's where, it sucks, because you almost have to be this persona, this like scary, mean, I'm going to beat you up. I got you. I'm going to win all the games. But it's you showing up on the field as who God has called you to be, but also off the field as who God called you to be. And people are looking up to you. That's the reality, is that people like Hamilton, just in general, Canada is such a place where people are so community oriented, and people are looking at you as an opportunity and as an inspiration of what is possible for them. So I want to ask you, like, what's something that you would leave for somebody who's watching this, whether they're an aspiring athlete, currently an athlete, somebody on your team, maybe one of your homeboys back home that's watching this and maybe struggling or maybe needs some encouragement of who they've been called to be, what they need to hear, essentially. What advice would you give them?
Main thing I always tell them, man, never give up. Keep going. Like, dark days don't last forever. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep going, regardless. You might fall, but I always give up and just know it's a bigger picture. Just keep doing what you're doing. You just gotta stay consistent for the main thing, cause that's the word that I'm living through in 2024 is stay consistent. Just keep going, keep grinding. And just take a risk of learning God, learning more about God. The moment you decide to give God his time, I promise you it's going to be blessings after blessings after blessings. But we got to realize things don't happen on our time. And I had to realize that a long time ago. So it's always about God's time, and just trust the plan, trust the process, and never give up, and walk by faith and not by sight.
I love that. Now, I'm curious, if you wouldn't have been playing football, would there be anything that you see yourself doing?
I would for sure been a comedian. For sure. For sure I would have been a comedian. For sure.
That was funny.
For sure been a comedian. For real. Like, literally.
Okay, so tell me a joke.
So I don't really be having no joke like that. So like when I say I'm a comedian, like if somebody say something, in a negative way or in a joking manner, I like joke and say who you look like. That type of comedian. Not like, telling like a joke off the wall. Like,
okay.
So it's just like joking back and forth.
So would you ever do like stand-up comedy?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
for sure do stand-up comedy.
Good
I think
to know.
I sell tickets for real, for the most part.
And that was way too funny. My last question, I think, is, I had it at the top of my head and then I just started laughing like a crazy person. Okay, this is, again, one of my tough little questions I like to ask. Is there anything you've had to walk away from since you've started playing football? And not just football, but giving your life to Christ? Because I know that you mentioned sometimes going back like back to old Jamal. And I've had my fair share of like going back to old Sophia's. And so I know that there's been things now that either I don't listen to, I don't go places, or people I don't even interact with. Like, has that been something that you've encountered while now in your professional career, where I can assume, like, I just assume that it can be difficult being like wondering if like people want to be around you because of who you are, or like just a title now that you have. But yeah, has there been something you've walked away from, or just like limit because of who you are?
I lost a lot of friends. Like, I don't hang around my day ones because we all on different paths. I love them from a distance, but I can't be around them because I know the moment something happens, it all gonna fall back on me. And so I had to give up partying, hanging out. I just had to separate myself from the crowd. Like, I didn't want to be around everybody, too many people, because, I mean, I know the type of image that I have. Something happen, it always going to fall back on me. So I had to give up partying, listening to, you know, some certain type of music, and just basically my friends. That's the only thing I really had to just give up. Mainly was some thing for me was just partying, enjoying the outside life. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with having fun, but like I was being around the wrong crowd, people that didn't have my best interest.
Yeah, and I think, and that's the reality of not just in your world, but I think people don't audit their relationships, their situations, what's around them. And as you, like I always say, like new levels, new devils. Yeah. And as you keep going up, not just in your business, not just in finances, like, I mean, your business is out there, like your income is out there, your position is out there. But not only that, is like the calling that God has on your life and on a lot of people's lives is you have to be so watchful. And a lot of people don't understand that, like, this is all spiritual. And like, you know, I never always just go and talk about faith our whole podcast, but I think it's really important to note that, like, when God is on your side, so is the enemy. And so they're going to, like, God hears your prayers, but so does the enemy. And so the distortion of prayers and just thoughts and things that come to your head, I think it's so important to be like, yeah, you know what? I used to do those things, but that just can't be attached to me. Like you said, your name holds weight and value. And I think that's so wise to be able to kind of take that on and say, you know what, that was good for me in a past season, but not now. So I think that's amazing. And I think to wrap up, what are you most excited for in this season? So you're signed to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Your games are starting. Practice is starting. You had your media day. You're going to be slowly moving here, I guess. That's kind of how it happens, right? You get signed, now you live here. Obviously, yeah, you're not going to play from the States. Not me showing how little to nothing I know about like football and games, but yeah, what are you most excited for in the season?
I'm more excited to learn more about God, for real. Better my relationship with my girlfriend. I'm excited for the season because I know this is going to be a special season, basically like a redemption year. Cause I mean, like during the free agency period, I heard the negative comments. I basically just want to show them that, like, I'm one of one. And I'm excited to be a part of the Hamilton Ticats. I just thank them for believing in me, giving me the opportunity. And we're going to have fun in Hamilton. And we're going to try to go get that Grey Cup. So.
And we'll be at the games. Yeah. Not knowing what's going on, but we'll be there. We'll be there for the vibes. Yeah. But thank you so much for being on here. Honestly, I think it's such a testimony of, what God can do with what you give him. And even though things may not look like what it is at the time, you obviously had opportunities to go elsewhere, and God is so gracious and so faithful to have you here. And having my best friend and being able to see her have what she's prayed for, and then you're talking about what you've prayed for, it's just such a full circle moment to see the gracious God that we serve and what can happen when you truly surrender your life. And some people may be like, oh, well, I can give God this, but not all of that, And so I really feel like I love what you're saying, that this season is all about God. Yes, it's about football. Yes, it's about winning the Grey Cup, but it's also about what God is going to do through you, with you. And so I'm really excited for the season for you. I'm excited to go to the games. I'm excited for you to be in Hamilton, but I'm also really excited to see the people that will be blessed, touched, and receive from your testimony and your boldness of sharing your faith. So thanks again for joining us on another episode of the One of One podcast. Feel free to share this with anyone who needs to listen, who needs to be reminded of who God is, but also don't forget to subscribe, to like it, to rate it, and to watch it on all your favorite platforms. Thanks again, and stay tuned for another episode of the One of One podcast.
I can get used to this podcast lifestyle.